Welcome to Koffee Talks, a Pokemon card collecting podcast, featuring David Person, owner of the world's most complete English Pokemon card collection, and Dan Norton, a longtime collector with all the knowledge behind the cards.
Hello everyone, welcome to what is not quite Koffee Talks in person, but I'm here with David, who's staring at me instead of the camera for some reason. I figured one video that would be cool, since I'm here with David, we would show off every single World's Trophy card in one video. I brought 5 of these this weekend with me. It was these 4 and then that one.
You brought them with you?
I did. Yeah.
You carried them all the way from Columbus, Ohio to somewhere near Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yep, on Spirit Airlines.
When you do that, did you go through the TSA and they checked you and they said no? Did they have to pat you down once they saw the trophy cards?
Nope, they scanned it. It's really weird as well because they were all bubble wrapped in the inside a metal box, which is sounds fancy, but it's a pencil case from Target. They were all in that and they didn't even flag up the metal box.
What about the hair? Did they happen to flag the hair?
No, they didn't. It was actually great because there was someone going through TSA at the same time as us who had not only a bottle of Pepsi, but then also another water canteen completely full, as though they'd just never been through TSA before.
You know what? I've done that before. I've actually hired those kind of people to do that. So if you get distracted, you let the TSA people get distracted, you get through. It's a pretty good idea, Dan.
Yeah. So as you can see, this is every single trophy card.
Every single trophy card.
From 2004
Yeah.
to 2024.
Yeah.
All the way down here.
What if we had a camera person that knew how to come above them and then she could just scan, he could show come through this thing, then she could actually show this coming this way down.
It's like I'd already shot that bit of footage and was going to edit it in later and then was going to show them all close up one at a time.
Are you saying people want to be limited in their viewing of the trophy cards, or could you say that actually maybe they just want to actually see them in various angles at various times and various audible things?
I'm sure they'll see them in various angles at various times.
Dan, how long did it take me to find these cards? Because as you know, every time we look for my cards, it takes 6 to 8 hours just to find the ones that are missing. How many times did you see me panic while we were looking for these? And then, so give the viewers an idea of what really goes on behind the scenes of my lack of organization collection.
A good few. He was panicking. He was in and out of different safes. I wasn't panicking because I knew that they were here somewhere, and I've seen him do that before, and I knew he would find them because he always finds them. He just takes them a minute.
It takes me a minute to do a lot of things, Dan. You know that?
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, fair enough.
I record with you every week. I know it takes you a long time to do anything.
It takes me a long time, yeah, guys. Yeah. So we have everything from 2004 to 2020?
2023. 23, yes. It's 2024 now. We don't have 2024 yet. That's going to be in Hawaii.
And the ones that we don't have we don't have any pandemic years because they didn't hold they didn't hold Worlds, right?
2020 and 2021 were the 2 years that were. So really, there should be just another row there, but there isn't.
And for those that don't know anything about the trophy cards, so myself included, the same art takes place during certain years, then switches again. How many different sets of art are on this thing? And then I turn to Dan and I act like I'm a news anchor. So the weather today looks like it's going to be cloudy with a chance of meatballs. That's a movie. All right, Dan, what do we got about different kinds of arts?
Well, there's 3 different arts, really. So starting off with up at 2004, all the way up to 2013, we have this half art style. They look like the kind of traditional Pokemon trainers that you get in sets. And then starting with 2014, we jump to this full art style, which is about the time the full art trainers stuff started showing up in sets. Honestly, I think it was a year or 2 before we got the first ones, but then they started showing up in bigger numbers, so we started seeing these nice new full arts. And then, of course, for this year in Yokohama, we've changed to this brand new second artwork of full art. So I imagine we'll see that keep going for a little bit longer.
So 3 different sets of art.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, Dan, what is the deal? Why is there 3 of each of these? And then all of a sudden in this particular year, which is what, 2014?
2013.
2013, why does it go to 4?
So you'll see they're called number 1, number 2, and number 3 trainer, and then this adds number 4 trainer. So it used to just go, whoever got first, second, and third would get the number 1, 2, and 3 trainer. And that used to be fine because they used to do a 3rd and 4th place playoff. You'll see it in a lot of sports. The 2 people who lost the semi-finals would play off against each other to see who was 3rd and who was 4th. And then the winner of that match is who would get the number 3 trainer. They did that up until 2008. Starting in 2009, they eliminated that match. So who got the number 3 trainer was purely dependent on the final Swiss standings at the, you play your Swiss rounds, it's everyone can keep playing till the end of Swiss rounds, and then they cut to, at the time they were cut into either top 16 or top 32, then they play single elimination where, one plays 32, two plays 31, that kind of thing.
Right.
But it would just be, out of the 2 losers of the semi-finals, whoever had the highest Swiss standing was declared third place. There wasn't a playoff for starting from 2009. And obviously at the time, a number 3 trainer is $2,000-$3,000 card. So that was the only difference between the third place and the fourth place prize kit, the prize pool. And I think they just thought it was kind of unfair that Swiss standings, which you often you have no real control over, determined which of 2 people was getting a extra $3,000 when they both really got as far as each other in the tournament. Without that playoff, they both reached exactly the same place. So that's why they added the number 4 trainer for whoever was lower in Swiss out of the 2 semi-final losing players. So there was a few years there where it was just based on Swiss, and then starting in 2013 is where they added the number 4. It's always had the same artwork as the number 3. I think, again, just to keep it the same, just to keep it consistent, so that there isn't too much of a difference between third and fourth place. The only real difference is it being number 3 and number 4.
Because I had somebody actually reach out this week when I posted one of I think I posted the ones that you brought, 1 through 4,
1 through 4.
For this next new year, and they said, why is it that they third and fourth have the same art? And I just said, because Pokemon didn't want to pay somebody to design an extra card because they'd already paid somebody so much to design 1 through 3, which makes no sense, did it, Dan?
No,
I basically led somebody down the wrong path as usual.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was totally fair only having 1, 2, and 3 when they did have that playoff, because there was an extra match involved. The number 3 was basically the prize for that extra match. But I definitely agree that once they removed the third and fourth place playoff, it was better to add an extra trophy card. And calling it number 4 means it's not devaluing the number 3 in any way. Because they could have just done it where it was both players get a number 3,
right,
and then number 3 has twice as many copies as 1 or 2. But I like that they didn't. I like that they called it number 4 to match that it was the 4th place.
Okay. Dan, but as we go on, I've got a couple more things real quick. Can you tell the viewers why this is behind us here?
Oh, because your desk is really messy.
My desk is really messy, and we don't show the messy desk.
Yeah.
I love that, Dan. That's great. That's great creative work on the camera. Thanks a lot. Dan, so then this is 4 places, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then every year on it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so before I talk about TCG versus VGC, I want you to tell everybody if you agree with the fact that everybody seems to like the number 2 coloring better than anything else. All people consistently say is, David, gosh, the number 2 coloring is the best of all of the 4.
For the full arts, people definitely say that. I think a lot of the reason is because the border color and everything is very different to Pikachu. On the number 1s, it's a gold border, there's lots of yellows and stuff in there which blend in with Pikachu. And then in 3rd and 4th, it's a bronze color, which again is kind of similar and blends in a bit. But the silver coloring, Pikachu really stands out against the background and against all of the other colorings on the card. So even if people don't know that's why they like it, I think that's what it is to a lot of people. Like, when I'm looking at it just like this, it is the number 2s that are standing out when reviewing all of them. And I think it is just because of that, the fact that it's so vastly different and Pikachu is standing out so well against it.
Dan, are you really Dan Norton? Like, am I talking to the real Dan Norton here on a flight from Columbus, Ohio? Or are you just one of those, like, artificially intelligence, like, virtual things that you're just sitting here?
It's split screen. I'm still in Ohio. We're doing split screen.
I know, I heard the dogs barking. I thought that might have been an issue. All right, and when you flew here this time, you brought your sugar mama, right?
Yep. She's currently holding the camera.
Wow, congratulations. Thanks, Sugar Mama. We appreciate it. Someone's got to do the dirty work, right? It's certainly not going to be Dan. I'll tell you that. Yeah, no, exactly. I got a nod on that one, a nod of affirmation. Dan, when did this go from TCG only, where you got 3 of every card, because there was 1 for each of 3 different divisions, because we'll get a few new viewers, to all of a sudden there was 6 of every card, because the video game championship players were involved as well.
So it started in this year. It started in 2013 is when they started getting 6 copies out. And it's weird because the 2013 ones still actually say if you won this card at the 2013 Pokemon Trading Card Game World Championships. By 2014, it said just 2014 Pokemon World Championships. But even though it still says that this year, the VGC players did still get them. And I believe I think it was Dave Schwimmer told me this on site.
But we'll caveat that just in case he didn't, we're not 100% sure of that, so don't make a video about us and don't sue us in a court of law.
The thing I'm about to say, I think, was Dave Schwimmer. I believe at the time when they started handing these out to video game players, I believe it was only top 2 at Worlds in video game got automatically invited back next year, whereas in TCG it was top 4 got invited back. But they then gave 3rd and 4th place of VGC these cards that say, if you won this, you may return to battle in 2014. So they had to invite the 3rd and 4th place players back when originally that hadn't been the structure. I will say I think it was 2008 that video game got added to the World Championships, and starting from 2008, the video game players did get the tropical winds, that kind of thing, the players packs and the runs.
So runs meaning the stamps that would say finalist on them or semi-finalist, quarter-finalist, that kind of thing.
But I believe because VGC always cut the top 8, I think they only ever got quarter-finalist up. I don't think VGC players ever got top 16, top 32, the way that TCG players did. But it was all the way back from when they started, they were getting those runs as well, but didn't get the trophies until a few years later. And then obviously we've seen in recent years, Pokken, Go, and Unite have been getting the players' packs plus the stamped runs, but they haven't been getting any trophies. The trophies have still just been for trading card and video game players.
And when you talk about the runs, which are again these player participation cards, but with some kind of stamp added, either staff or not the runs, but the other ones are top 32, etc. Semifinalist, quarterfinalist, whatever. When did the champion, because I know there was, at some point, the finalist was the best card you could get. Yeah. When did champion first step up into this whole mix?
Champion started in 2012.
2012, okay.
Second year of Tropical Beach.
Got it.
So the 2012 Tropical Beach was the first English champion card.
Why do you think, this is totally speculating, and again, probably not worth the time and effort for Pokemon, but why did they not make something more beneficial to the video game championship folks, right? Like, I'm just thinking out loud. If I'm a video game person and that's what I enjoy, wouldn't I love to have a new video game or something of more of that type of genre than just a trading card?
I think it is simply that it's very difficult to give video game players stuff based around the video game. I know for a few years, I think it was 08, 9, and 10, top 32 of both video game and trading card game got customized games consoles. Yeah. So it was a DS, a DSi, and a DSi XL, I think were the 3 consoles. So top 32 of both trading card and video game players got those. At the time, those weren't worth very much. I think when people were selling them, they weren't actually going for a lot more than just a standard console. But now I think people are starting to really realize the rarity of them, and those are worth a few $1,000s now as well.
I think they should have done that. I think that would have been a wonderful thing, that you just customize a video game or a console or something. Of course, it's a lot more expensive than one little printed beautiful card that isn't expensive to produce, but it's expensive when you want to go and buy it on the secondary market, right?
Yeah, everyone there's now a lot more stuff for champions, There's the hats, the play mats, the bags. It used to just be those, like the shoulder bags and stuff you saw. They would just be, originally they should be backpack stuff for every player who made it in the world. Then it was like top 32, they improved them. Then they started doing stuff where, like champion, finalists, semi-finalists, it would get like that embroidered onto it. And I know when we had obviously David Cohen on the podcast, he talked about how he had his leather jacket with finalist on it, and we've seen the hats and stuff. He had a hat with finalist on it, but now they do hats with champion and stuff. So there is a lot more now that you get for doing well in any of the categories.
As well as a lot more money. Not
Oh,
independent
yeah,
of
so
all of
much
this,
more
but they're
money,
giving so much more prize money, I noticed, too.
And the big thing is, I think it was around 2016 or something that it actually changed. It used to be that it was all scholarship money, even for masters. So when you played, you could only draw out that money, like if you were if it was for university fees, or you could submit it to Pokemon if I need a new MacBook for my schoolwork or something. You could get some of your scholarship money out for that. But
Shush! Dan's talking. Relax. Go ahead, Dan.
But obviously, that's why a lot more players in the past were actively trying to sell these cards. We did have some difficulty picking some of them up, but now you find the buyers chasing the winners, right? Back in the day, winners would be chasing the buyers because the winners weren't actually getting any cash. I mean, I think we again said this when we had David on, but it's expensive to play a year of Pokemon, traveling to all these events to qualify for Worlds, and to come out of it with no cash. Selling one of these for like $5,000 or something back in the day, like that was a huge bonus to them because it paid for what they'd done over the course of the year. Whereas the scholarship money, unless they were actively, going to university at the time, it didn't really do anything. I know a lot of players, I think, just did deals. You'd see it on groups and stuff at the time. Like, I've won this amount of scholarship money. If you're going to university, I'll sign it over to you for 80% of the value. So if it's someone who's actually at university at the time, great. It's just a 20% boost on their money, and it let the players actually get something out of it.
Dan, I have much more to talk about, but not that much more time, so you need to do me a huge favor, okay?
Okay.
I've been sitting here nervously realizing that I don't know which side of my face is my best profile, okay? So let's switch seats. Let's go. Come on, Dan. Switch it over. Just in case it's my other side is better.
Great. This is going to make for a fun edit now.
All right, good. No, it's not an edit. All right. So, Dan, what is the deal right now with first of all, I have to ask you something. You mentioned that third and fourth, we go to the Swiss formats, and so we don't actually play off for that shit. So much lower seat, Dan. All of a sudden, you've got 7 inches on me. Why didn't you tell me I could put something up? I'll sit up like this. Dan, should they have a playoff? Why don't they just play off third and fourth and not let them decide on some random point system?
I mean, I think a lot of the players would be happy with that, and I personally, I think they should have kept doing it, but I think it was just a change to make the whole process move a bit quicker. And the way it is now, the semi-finals are, especially for Masters, are the last thing that happened on Saturday night. They get through everything. It used to be the whole of top 8 would be on Sunday, and all of the finalist matches would be played together. All 3 TCG finals in the 3 age divisions would be played at the same time, and then VGC would all be played at the same time. Now, because for streaming and stuff, they stagger them, Sunday is just finals. So it would either mean you have to put the semi-finals on, the third and fourth place player, on the Sunday as well somewhere, which either means it's happening in the background and it's not being streamed, or it's then adding another whole load of streaming, or you try and do it last thing Saturday night, which I don't think the players would want.
But who cares? What if you don't stream it, right? At least there would be a third and fourth place. It isn't getting streamed right now, essentially, right? There's no match in that space right now.
Yeah,
it's determined.
A semi-final match will still be streamed, and then players go home for the night. It would just be staying later. It would be adding something later, even if they didn't stream it. They'd either have to have it going later on Saturday, right, or it would mean the people who lost the semi-finals had to come back first thing Sunday, which they currently don't. They can have a lie-in, they can go and enjoy Tokyo or London.
Which, guess what? The third place winner is greatly happy about, and the fourth place winner is thinking, the fourth place person wishes they could have a match, right?
I mean, I think with the addition of the number 4 trainer, I don't think they mind too much, because there is basically no difference between it.
Yeah.
If they still had the system where it's just 1, 2, 3, then yeah, I think fourth places would be one in the match.
Okay. So Dan, one of the things that you talked about is this whole, competitive landscape a little bit. We're just talking third and fourth and stuff. I have noticed something. I want you to tell me if I'm completely off base or if it actually makes any sense. I have this sense of a lot of the veteran players or even veteran people participating in the hobby who are kind of stepping back in dipping their toe in the water to play again.
Yeah.
And this goes all the way back to folks that I knew as kids that are looking at it, and some of the older folks are looking at it. Older folks, yeah. Older folks, yeah. You know what? When I'm 6 foot under, throw a trophy card and wave goodbye. Anyway, sorry, Dan. What is the deal? Is it become an easier thing? Do they think they're going to recapture their youth? Or is this actually something that's about the game today that people think I can manage it, I can actually do this successfully after all these years? Is it a format change or what's going on?
No, I think it's the money. I think it's the people who were playing back then, maybe they dropped out of it because if you won Worlds, you were getting $5,000 scholarship money. People who have moved on, they had to start work. People who have to get full-time jobs don't have the time to compete as much. Now, Pokemon can be your full-time job. If you are a high-level player, just playing in the tournaments isn't going to be your full-time job. But if you're putting up tournament results, you're making videos about decks, you're streaming, you've got a Patreon where you write about different strategies and stuff. Maybe you're sponsored by a store, so you're not paying your own travel. All of that adds up to the point where you can be a professional Pokemon player. It can be your job if you need it to be. You don't have to be working another job. I believe people like Todd, I think all he does is Pokemon. I don't think he has a job that is not Pokemon involved. He's obviously doing more than just going to the tournaments and doing well, but all of his income and all of his time can be based around Pokemon, and you can do that now, which you couldn't do back in the day. So there's probably some good players who are looking at it and saying, maybe I'm going to give this a shot. Maybe I'm going to see if I am still good enough to get up there. Like again, going back to the David Cohen podcast, like I said to him, just you should start streaming. I think he would really knock it out of the park if he was streaming. And I think there's a lot of other big name players who have good personalities and stuff can do that. If they don't want to stream, they can do the written content behind a paywall where they're giving insight into what they think the best decks are. There's a lot of revenue streams available for people in Pokemon now.
I remember Tord was making most of his money actually through individual coaching. So he had parents and players coming to him and paying an hourly rate to try to coach them on how to build the decks and how to play the different strategies and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and even if it's not specific decks, a lot of people do coaching, and you can get a lot of different levels of coach just based on where you're at. If someone's jumping into the game new, they're not going to go to Tord for coaching because he's going to be he's going to be charging more than other people, and he's going to be so far above what they're needing. But there are people coaching at basically every level. So if you wanted to start playing tomorrow, you can probably find someone who's coaching for maybe $15 an hour who will get you into the game, who will teach you the basics and how to start playing competitively. And then if you start getting good, there are then other players who are at higher levels you can move on to start getting better and better coaching as you're wanting to progress through these bigger and bigger tournaments. So that's another avenue, like I said, that's open for players. There's just so much that they can do.
Dan, I know you don't play this game anymore. This game has, kind of outlived you because it's more...
I won a league challenge 2 weeks ago.
All right, fine. Then if you think you know something and you know more about this than Lorcana or something else, depending on how it's pronounced, or, pronounced. Lorcana pronounced. Yeah. Hey, that's good. So, Dan, is the game tougher today than it was years ago? Or is it the same? Or does it take the same level of skill? Is it, on a scale of 1 to 10, what was it 10 years ago versus today?
I think it's about the same level of skill. I don't think it's really changed, It's just how you put those skills into practice has changed. It's a different axis that the game is moving on. Back when I was playing, it was a lot about evolutions of Pokemon. You didn't have the big basics back when I was playing. I played just as we started to get into level X's where they had the basic forms, then the level X's, which obviously then kept going into EXs, Vs, GXs, all that stuff. But it was a big shift, but it was equally skill testing. It was just, back then I feel like the games maybe went a little bit longer. It always felt like they were going a bit longer and you weren't having these huge turn ones that you're seeing today. But even with those, it's just a skill testing. It's not luck. The players who are getting these big setup turn ones, they're playing the same amount of cards out, it's just they're doing it all in one turn because the game allows you to do that kind of thing. I think I don't think, if anyone's saying it's dropped in skill level because that shift to big basics, I don't think that's right. I think it's just players are still having to come up with the correct sequences. They have to know exactly what cards to play when. I think it's just as difficult now as it was back then.
Dan, there's someone looking right through that viewfinder right now at us, okay? And it's not the person filming, because she's got her own mind on 7 other things right now. So here's the thing. What do we say to the person looking at this wonderful display? And why is not a darn card graded? Why? And I know you're thinking it right now. I don't care what you're thinking, but it's got to be answered. We have to answer the question, Dan.
We just did like a 2-hour podcast on it. Go back a couple of coffee talks ago to something called grading card controversy.
Fine, I'll re-ask the question, Dan, because I find a way, you always can navigate your way around to tough questions. Okay?
I mean, we don't need to retread an entire...
I'm not going to retread a thing. What I want to know is this collection diminished as we sit here sitting next to it today? This every trophy card that no one will ever duplicate. Duplicate it. You know what? You just go to a factory and you reprint this stuff, and it's all everybody says it's out there somewhere. You just cut it out. That's what I hear. So, anyways, if is it diminished because it's not graded? Do you feel less of a collection is sitting next to you because it's not graded?
No. This is the pinnacle of English Pokemon card collecting. You know, people can talk about stuff like PSA 10 first edition base sets, but the reality is anyone with enough money can finish PSA 10 base set. You can't do this. Like, money is not the only limiting factor here. I mean, obviously you need a lot of money to even attempt this, but it's the rarity of the cards, it's the connections of the players. Even to keep us going forward, it's 15, 20 years of connections we've made with different players that are the reasons where we were able to even speak to the right people about the cards this year. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, just to say the fact that it's diminished because they're not graded, I mean, it's like, are you going to look at this and, like, if we grade, say, the number 1 2004, is anyone going to look at it and say, oh, it's only an 8, I don't care, it would be cool if it was a 9? Like, no, it's a 2004 number 1 trainer, you know?
What? Just let me stop you. Cool. Why are you talking about grading? We had done a podcast on this like 2 weeks ago. We did a full podcast. You're retreading the whole thing. I feel like you're just going over the same stuff. I'm so sorry for that. Dan got distracted. There's no excuse for that. And I want to apologize sincerely for my podcast partner. He had no right to do that, okay? Dan, I'll show you how much I care about these cards, okay? By the way, when Dan says that it does take a little bit of money and then it takes more than that, it takes connections and some work and stuff, I had originally scheduled about 20 years ago to retire at the age of 45, just so you guys know. Right now it's moving towards like 72 based on the recent purchases. That's not good, because you want to live, you want to outlive your collection, but right now I'm not on track to do that. Dan, let's show them how much we don't give a crap about this stuff, okay?
What are you about to do?
We're gonna arm wrestle on top of the cards. Come on.
All right, well...
We're going to arm wrestle right on top of the trophies.
Okay, but be gentle, because I did dislocate my shoulder.
Okay, we're just going to go. Okay, ready, Dan? Okay, so we go 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, good. Dan, make a face, Dan, right in the camera. Make sure you look at it.
I mean, my arm is actually going to explode. Like, I don't
okay, stop. That's good. Okay, right. It was a draw.
All right, okay.
He's very strong. Doesn't look it because of the hair. Very strong. I work out 6 to 7 days a week. No, not really. Maybe 5. No, not so much. I work out a couple hours every month. And Dan actually could have taken me down. I didn't want to be embarrassed, so I tried to kind of use my leverage on that angle. So
Laura's looking terrified by the camera, knowing that I could not have taken you down, and the fact that we just put our elbows on these.
No, it's fine. Dan, any last words? You know, I appreciate you helping me pull them out and find them all. I do want to thank Dan on camera for holding my cards as ransom and leveraging them against me for the last year or so. That guy has gone everywhere around the world. He's been to Japan, to Tokyo, to Hawaii, he went to the UK, and he's just been looking for these cards for me, so I can't thank him enough for all the help and assistance. Yeah. He loves, what I love about Dan is he loves spending my money more than anyone except my wife. It's not my money, it's her money. I mean, I love spending her money. Forget it, I already put my foot too deep in. Dan, edit it out. Okay, any last words, Dan? Because it's I got to put them away before the intruders get in the house. And
yeah, we'll end this section here. Right after this, I'm going to show off each one on camera individually, so stick around for the rest of the video for that. I'll maybe talk a little bit about them as I'm going, or I'll dub over it later. But you are going to see these all close up in the rest of the video, but hopefully you guys did enjoy. So for anyone who doesn't want to stick around to see that, no, I don't know why you wouldn't. You should stick around to see close up video of every single trophy card. But thanks for watching this not a Coffee Talks or Coffee Talks special showing off.
Yes, it should be a special limited edition. And do comment, you know, I want to know really who looks better on camera when we don't have any actual, you know, kind of stuff going on to insulate the views. And by the way, which is my better side? Would it be the first part of the video or the second part of the video? Also, had we finished the arm wrestling, who do you think would have won? Make a comment. If I'm raffling off any of these cards to anybody, make a comment to let us know which one you'd be interested in. And that's all I've got for now, Dan. Anything else? Seems like we've said it all, right?
I definitely think we've said it all.
Okay.
And some more.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Starting off with, of course, 2004. These were very difficult ones for David to get to the number 1 and the number 3 from 04 because they were all Japanese winners and no one wanted to sell for quite a long time. 2005 number 1 was the first one he actually got from Jeremy Marin. It was the first time he realized there were actually trophy cards. Cool thing about this is you can just see the trophies evolve through the years. You can actually see some nice swirls in the different holofoils there. The main difference between each of the half arts is the world's logo that's in the bottom of the card. Changes are based on each individual championship. The 2007 number 1's just coming up. This one David actually had 2 of. He sold one to me, so that's one of the trophy cards I got. The 2007 number 2 was another one that took him a long time to get a hold of. It was years after the tournament. That was the last one that, he still needed to catch up, as it were, for quite some time. Now moving into 2009, the number 2 from this year is another one that I've got in my own personal collection, which I'm pretty happy with. These are my favourites. I wish I did have these ones. This is the Heart Gold Soul Silver Era 2010 cards. You can see the really nice gold and silver borders, which I just love. 2011, they started adding the play only 1 per year to the bottom of the card to match up with the supporters of the time, which had the play only 1 per turn. I just really, really love these cards. The 2011 number 3 is another one that I have in my own collection. We're into 2012. Obviously, this was the last year that they only did 3. And then 2013, we're about to see the first number 4. Which, of course, is another one that I have to round out my set. There it is, first number 4 trainer. And then we're hitting the first full art. Very, very nice cards. Of course, this, as I said, where it switches from trading card World Championships to just World Championships on the text. All very, very beautiful. People do love that number 2 trainer, and as I said, I can see why, because of all the colours popping. Definitely see that as we're seeing them all very close up. Just absolutely stunning cards, I'm sure everyone's going to agree. Every single one is just beautiful. See the trainer and item at the top of the card changes here as we go into 2017. The word item got a lot smaller. Goes into italics rather than being bold, just to again match up, stick consistent with the style of actual trainers that are available in the game at the time. Obviously very, very beautiful. 2018, keeping that same style. The World Championship logo hasn't actually changed that much since about 2011. So you'll see it on the earlier cards, it changed quite drastically every year. And then it kept that kind of 4-coloured design around. These are the cards that are actually a lie because you didn't get to come back in 2020 because of the pandemic. So there's the 2019 cards that often where you are coming back to. Then we jump into 2022 right after the pandemic. These ones were from London. These ones obviously were very difficult to get a hold of too. I think we talked a lot about the travels of the number 1 trainer. And that number 3 trainer, obviously, I did just bring with me this weekend. And then this is the full set from Yokohama. In the main podcast, we've talked a lot about getting the number 1 and all those difficulties there. So that is it. That is every trainer. Hopefully you did enjoy seeing all of these. They do look, of course, very beautiful. And me and David will see you again soon for some regular scheduled Coffee Talks.
Thanks for listening to Coffee Talks with Dan Norton and David Person, featuring music by More Than Never and artwork by Laura Norton. A special shout out to all of our Patreon members. Join us again next time.
But they don't want you to have forever.